Makes sense to me.
Trying to live stream.
Oh, I see it now. Yes. See, very tech savvy. That's why I sit back here, Emma.
Okay, it is now live on YouTube. Yay! Welcome to another fabulous edition of April Acceptance Brings May Integration. And today we have with us Miss Cherie Fishbaugh, professor. Now, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So actually, I'm not a professor anymore, Emma. I gave up that title a while ago to be able to come and start DCAP. So I am the director of the C Autism Program, also known as DCAP, here at Westchester University. So I run a program that helps support students, matriculated students on the autism spectrum here at the university.
Yes, wonderful. And I am also part of that program, and I am so glad to have Cherie with us today. And um, so my first question is for you. What was the journey like developing this program, DCAP? What obstacles did you have to go through to actually develop it? And, can you just explain some of that?
Sure. So I felt like we were in a rare position where it became here in Pennsylvania, our state system wanted to develop some higher education support programs for the autism population that was coming to campuses. So it was kind of laid out for me in that aspect, but the actual development of the program itself, first thing we had to do is look at where we're going to house it. Is it going to be in disability services? Is it going to be its own program? Here at Westchester, administration decided to have it in its own program. So our students, what that meant was that students still had to go access disability services for their academic accommodations. So anything like extra time on a test, note takers, having a quiet area to take a test, those academic accommodations would still come out of our Office of Student Services for this with disabilities. However, students would come to DCAP for us to assist in 5 other major areas that had been identified of support needed, and that would be the executive functioning, socialization on campus, feeling included, self-advocacy, independence of coming to campus, living here, making those own appointments, and then also the career aspect of it, that employment readiness, employment, and career development piece. So the development of it that way was trying to talk to other universities and other programs that had already been in existence, seeing how they had developed their programs was really important. And a big component of DCAP, though, in the development was I had these areas in which we wanted to develop, but really it wasn't about what I wanted to do. It was what did our students want about it. So when it comes to developing a program like this, I really wanted to make sure I had the student voices heard. So first thing I always point out is the name of our program. Those who are not familiar with Westchester do not know what Dub C means. And that is like, what's Dub C? Or people want to call us Dub Cap, or they want to call the program Dub C. That's not the case. The first thing that we had asked our students was, do you want autism in the name of our program? Because we had heard from different experts across the field of, don't put, autism in the name of your program, people may not come. But our students were pretty vocal about it, that if you didn't put autism in the name of our program, how were my friends supposed to find us? And those were the exact words. I wrote them on a Post-it note because I thought that was so powerful. And one of those moments like, ta-da, Cherie, yes. So that's where autism part came in. And then we talked a little bit about, like, do we put it in the mascot, a Rammy, or what? But Dub C is the slang for the borough of Westchester. Dub stands for W. C stands for Chester. I see you nodding your head, Emma, because you're right. You live here in Westchester. You know That's the thing. But for first years and people who have not been here to Westchester, I oftentimes have to tell them if people say they're hanging out in the Dub C tonight, it doesn't mean decap. It means they're going uptown. So that's just one instance of where having that student involvement. When you look around DCAP, you will see that our furniture are school colors. I recognized very quickly that my taste is bland. I was thinking like tans. I was very neutral in my color selection. Brought it back to the crew, and the crew said, "Where are our school colors?" And so I was able to take that back to administration, and they were like, "Well, yes. Why would we not have school colors?" So we find ourselves to be very. We think we're unique. We are the department here on campus that has our school colors here in our furniture. Um, our first year, and again, thinking about the development, I listed off 5 areas that DCAP assist with. I will tell you though, our first year, our students, we had 4 students the first semester and it ended up having 7 by the end of the first year in our program. What they really wanted was to feel included on campus. And we had some that were freshmen or the first years. We had some that had been here for a year or two. And then we had some that were getting ready to graduate. It was their last year here at Westchester. And so in that, they were really voicing, we want to feel included. We want the socialization. We want things to do here on campus. So that's really what DCAP did in its first year of development, was just having inclusive activities, having things to do to network and to build in those friendship pieces. And it actually wasn't until the second year, and I'm looking at you, Emma, when I say this, because we work a lot on like the employment piece, right? And getting those jobs. And it really wasn't until that the second year that became a bigger focus for us. So it's really taking the lead from the students. It comes from, like I said, the focus of the area in which they want to progress in. And also, I know, I watched your first webinar and I saw you with Amanda and asking some of those hard questions of, puzzle pieces and neurodiversity infinity signs, symbols. That came along too within the DCAP community of being able to look at our original signage does have puzzle pieces in. That's what we had looked at. That's what everybody agreed upon. And it wasn't until our third year, almost into our third year, where that started raising some flags of, wait a minute, do we want that puzzle piece in our DCAP symbol? Hold on a second. And you were there for some of those conversations and those wonderful surveys that I send out saying, hey, I need your feedback. And that's a big part of building DCAP, is being able to listen to our students, listen to their feedback, and being able to build DCAP in a way that is driven by our students. You hear me say all the time, the whole philosophy behind DCAP is I don't sit even in the driver's seat. You guys have the fuel, the navigation, or you guys have the navigation system. You guys are sitting in the driver's seat. Cherie just has some fuel that says, "Hey, tell me what you want. Where do you want to go? All right, let's start putting networking to put the pieces together, so you can get there."
Yeah. So, for those who don't know, Cherie went to school for applied behavior analysis, and there are definitely some controversies with the field of applied behavior analysis within the autistic community. And I was wondering if you could talk about like why you think there are some controversies and like what exactly you have to say about this, because I think it's definitely important to address.
Absolutely. And Emma, I just want to commend you for actually bringing these topics up. I said I had watched your first video with Amanda and your first series with Amanda, and bringing up these controversial topics. I think it raises a big, it raises awareness to them. And thinking about behavior analysis, I know that many behavior analysts come under scrutiny with regards to applied behavior analysis, and a lot of people within the autistic community have they do not like behavior analysts. I'll just put it out there. Yes, I'm aware of it. You also are aware that I proudly hold my certificate on the wall and point out it's on all my cards. I'm proud to be a behavior analyst. I went to school for it. as for misconceptions, and I don't want to say, I don't know if I want to call them misconceptions. I want to talk about, I love the fact that you're bringing up this controversy, because a lot of times as behavior analysts, I didn't know about the controversies, to be quite honest, until students started bringing it to me and talking to me about, the discrepancy and maybe the dislike of behavior analysts. And it's a lot of, I hear a lot of behavior analysts are trying to change me, make me normal. Um, they don't accept us for who we are. So some of those same things that we hear, even when I hear people talk about like autism speaks, like behavior analysts don't talk about curing. But what we do talk about is behavior change. And I think a big misconception is that applied behavior analysis is an intervention for autism. Behavior analysis is a science. And I think being able to understand that behavior analysis isn't around it's not as a treatment or an intervention for the autistic population. It's a science that we utilize to change behaviors in anybody. For instance, I am extremely proud, Emma, that I have long nails now. You know how I got long nails? By putting together a self-monitoring sheet for myself, recognizing when I bite my nails, becoming aware of the behavior, recognizing what the triggers were to when I actually, or antecedents to biting my nails, monitoring it, and then putting in replacement behaviors. It was socially appropriate for me. It's something that I wanted to change. I needed to change because Cherie was getting strep throat all the time.
Yeah. From biting your
And
nails, I feel that. Yeah.
yes, because those germs were just going in.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have thought of this earlier than in my late 20s of perhaps you don't want to bite your nails, that those germs coming in, but I didn't. And then, as I started to realize like I need to change that behavior within myself, I started to use the same principles that I had studied to be able to apply it to myself to change that behavior. I think that a lot of times people think that it's this intervention. I know, like I said, I really appreciate the fact that you're bringing up this controversial issue, because I know also people look at it, and you and I have had this conversation before, about those who are on the spectrum who have more severe self-injurious behaviors, working with individuals who are frustrated because they cannot communicate, and they're engaging in those behaviors that result in concussions. They're engaging in behaviors that, yes, result in traumatic brain injury because they're hitting their head so hard. And so as a behavior analyst, we go in and we're able to look at why those behaviors are occurring. Our first thing is to protect them, and then decide, like, be able to figure out what the function is. Why are you hitting your head? Same thing with nail biting. Why am I biting my nails? When is that most prevalent? And then I want to go in and say, all right, like, now how can I prevent, yet also teach a different way for you to communicate? And I think understanding it from that aspect, it's not always about changing. I've worked with many students who engage in self-stimulatory type behaviors, and if it doesn't distract anybody else and it doesn't interrupt other people, like, why would we want to change that? Does it matter to you? Right? Like, that's the thing too, is when it comes to behavior analysts, it's like any field. You have some good ones, you have some not so great ones, right? And it's like going to a psychologist. Sometimes you have some really great ones that can work right through some things with you, and sometimes you're going, did you give me any strategies? Did you help me? And I think that's the same way with some behavior analysts. It's one, it's I find the strengths with it is being able to listen. Right? What would you like help with? If you don't have somebody who's going to listen, then it does become I want you to change because I don't feel like this is deemed appropriate. And I
Yeah.
can see where that can come up.
And that's with like a lot of careers too. Like, with us with like regular therapists or for even people in the police system, because the police system, there's a lot of controversy about that, which is definitely understandable. It's also like about their mindset and how they view these people as well, and what the training is, and what skills they have learned, and all
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, ironically enough, when I hear a lot of you talk about what are the strategies that have helped you within DCAP, a lot of them actually are the same strategies that we utilize, that we do based on the theoretical frameworks of applied behavior analysis. When I sit down and I draw T-charts up on my dry erase board behind me, and we start looking at what are some examples or non-examples, pros, cons, what are priorities. When we start to look at our assignments and we start in behavior analysis terms, we start to talk about, I can use key terms like, oh, we're making graphic organizers back there. I would never use those terms to my students, right? Like, you're going to be like, what are you talking about, Cherie? But in my mind, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to make it make sense to you as to what this assignment is. I had a couple of students who came to me over winter break who were having trouble with motivation. And so what we ended up doing is, ironically enough, same thing I did with my nails, right? We started self-monitoring on a very short interval. Now, the students themselves, when they asked me, I said, these are some different strategies that we can do. And they started self-monitoring. One currently is on a 5-minute interval. One's on a 10-minute interval. One's on a 15-minute interval. They pick their own interval. They're involved in their self-monitoring process. They also, all three of them ironically picked different measurement systems. In my mind as behavior analyst, I'm thinking, oh, great, I have a momentary time sampling. I have a partial interval and I have a full interval. I do not say that to my students of, you're going to do a momentary time sampling. That's right. They're going to be like, Cherie, what are you talking?
What does
Instead,
it mean?
it means that at the end of the timer that they look to see whether or not they're engaged in that behavior. But in that, they've devised their own system of working through their motivation um, area that they wanted to, and they devised their own support system, and in that, they take full credit for it because it is theirs. Like, they were involved the entire process. They presented what they wanted to change. So I know I'm kind of rambling on with this, but I just think about, students who, when I talk about self-stimulatory type behaviors that come up, and, we should be able to engage in self-stimulatory type behaviors, right? You're not going to hear me disagree with you.
I shake my leg. I literally shake my leg like all the time. And I don't mean it to be disruptive. It's just sometimes it naturally happens, just me shaking my leg.
Yeah. And shaking the leg, we can even talk about more stereotypical ones like hand flapping and doing things. Here's the thing that I look at with that is, if it's not hand flapping clear out here where you could hit somebody, you can't see it on my screen, right? If it's not disruptive to others, and you're okay with whatever, this is the sad part. And I say the sad part because I understand what you're saying when you guys come to me and say people just need to accept us, right? Is understanding that, unfortunately, people stereotype. There are these social norms. Like, we can't hide that. Like, unfortunately, it's the truth, right? I don't have the power to change it. I hate to tell you, you don't have the power to change it. Like, it's going to take a long time to change that, what's viewed as social norms. But it is my job to talk to my students about, if you want to engage in that certain behavior, of understanding how others might perceive it. And if you're okay and you have your line to advocate for yourself and you feel confident about it, then I feel like, okay, I've gone through and I've told, like, just so that you're aware of what, unfortunately, others may perceive.
Yes.
Right. And I think that's the big thing. And I believe me, I wish I could change social norms.
who doesn't? Like, there's social norms with like a bunch of, not just with, there's like social norms everywhere with everything. And
Right.
it's not just for people, it doesn't just affect people with disability community. It affects like, it's like, oh, how should you have your hair for an interview? It's like certain styles of hair are deemed unprofessional and some are deemed professional. It's like,
Right. Well, I mean, as you're talking about that, and look, we're doing this on Zoom, right? Let's be honest, most of us on Zoom meetings when we're sitting at home, what ends up happening, we might put like a nice shirt on top, but on the bottom we have pajama bottoms.
yeah.
Pajama bottoms are not appropriate to wear to work. Yet in the world that we are in now, hey, as long as I look professional on the top, on the bottom, I could wear some pajama bottoms and workout pants, right?
Yeah. Oh, we
How?
have another surprise guest joining us right
Oh,
now.
we do.
Yes, it's one of our best friends.
Oh no. Does that mean that I took too long? Is that what happened, Emma? I snuck too
No,
long?
she's here a little bit early. You can stay on with her. Like, I still have some
Oh,
questions.
excellent. Hello, Mel.
Hello.
You just
Hello.
joined us when I was talking about social norms and I was talking about pajama bottoms. Not necessarily things you want to wear to work, but this day and age, we can get away with it because you only see from the top up.
Exactly.
Anyway. All right. I think I talked too long, Mel, and I'm not even sure I answered the questions that Emma was asking me about. Apparently, I'm rambling.
It's okay. We all ramble all the time. I think, Cherie, the last question I sent you was, what are 3 things you've learned from working with, students on the spectrum? What are 3 things you've learned from working within DCAP and working with these students?
I only get 3? Sheesh, that whole number system that you put me on.
3 things, man.
Oh, well, I want to say, like, I think probably the most, the thing that hit me the most, I think, is the education that you guys provided to me about the puzzle piece, the controversial stuff, the person first language versus, do we use person first language, blue versus red, all of that stuff that I had no idea about, where you guys were. Okay, and I apologize. Yes, I say you guys. I'm from the Midwest. I'm trying to get that out of my repertoire. I just caught it again. But when you all sit down and you talk to me about that and educate me, because I felt like as a professional, I was living in my little bubble, and it was just like, oh, this is where it's at. Like, this is what I want to do. This is what I need to do to support. This is what, and so having those conversations and the fact that you all feel comfortable in educating me and not holding it against me that I didn't know. And that includes even the behavior analyst components, right? I think that that's that's an important thing of learning. I think another thing that's I don't know, I feel like I learn something every day. I think it's more of recognizing how to help you with your platforms. And what I mean by platforms is sitting down and listening and saying, okay, what you explain to me what you want to do, and then talk it through with me so that I can figure out how I can help navigate that path. What can I do to help? And I think that's a big thing is, taking that lead from you all and recognizing that. And then a third thing, geez, Louise. I don't know if it's something that I've learned. I think it's something that we kind of all take advantage of, is just having time to talk. I'm looking at, well, Mel turned her camera off now, but I'm thinking of you and Mel, right? Are just 2 of our 40 something students here at DCAP, and including me in your conversations. Like, I love that you guys are able to sit down, include me, have those conversations, not always take the lead. Like, I don't have to be the lead or have that director hat all the time on. It's educate me. and being able to talk as a unit, not necessarily as it always me with my director's cap of having to have answers. Because
Yeah.
sometimes I just don't have answers, and it's okay.
Yeah, I think
And
whatever position you're in, it's always a learning experience. If someone says they don't have any more to learn, that's a lie because we all have something to learn. I still have more to learn. Like, I'll be honest, I'm on the spectrum. I didn't even know about all the controversies of like ABA, Autism Speaks, until like, wow, at the university. It was like 2 years ago when I found out about like Autism Speaks and it's just all about like actually trying to get like autistic voices heard, like actually getting our voices heard and rather than not.
well, and Emma, I think about that, and hearing all of you talk about that has led to what? I mean, I think about some of the things that we work on of what is your dream job? What do you guys want to do? And then figuring out like, okay, because you're telling us maybe that position doesn't exist yet, right? People haven't hired for that position or they're not looking for that. Well, then it becomes our job to figure out how do we sell that position and let people know, like, no, you need somebody like me at your organization doing X, Y, or Z job. And why do you need somebody like me? Well, because guess what? I'm going to look at it differently. And I think being able to have those conversations with you all and recognizing your rights, we do need that. I mean, I sit in a position where I'm pretty privileged, like to the fact of if I have a question and I want input, I can go out and get 40 students who represent the autistic population and get input. Like, and that's, you all know, that's where I go. Like if something's going to change, if something's going to work, like if I want to make a change at DCAP or I have a suggestion about what we could do, I come to you all and say, what are your thoughts on this? And I say that I have that unique position of having 40 voices that can give me their opinions and say, hey, this is it. And I'm like, all right, here we go. Because I only have one view, right? Like, I need others. So yeah, I mean, I think that that's a big part too. So.
And Mel here is also helping you with developing a website, which
Yes.
I'll be honest, I still don't 100% know what it's for. So Mel, can you explain what exactly this website is and who it's like geared towards?
Sure. Yeah. So the website that we're developing is working to help autistic people and other neurodiverse people gain employment, gain the resources that they need for employment, and just to help them connect with employers, other universities, and everything that'll help them succeed. Cherie's hired me. We're working on that together. It's really exciting, and I'm enjoying doing it a lot.
Yeah. Now, is this specifically for people on the spectrum, or is it also for other people with like disabilities as well? And is it geared towards just people in Westchester?
No, this is not just for people on the spectrum. This includes all neurodiverse people and others who think that are probably not neurotypical, as we call them. It's not just exclusive to autism, and others are more than welcome to have their input on this website as well.
That's pretty awesome. I might have to utilize that website whenever you guys are finished with it. I'm not exactly sure. Do you have a title for the website?
We do. It's the Neurodiversity at Work group.
Nice. I love it. I really like that. I really enjoy that you guys are also expanding like outside of like autism, because I know for me, a goal that I've been trying to learn about like other disabilities as well, other than, autism. And I think that's also important. So I'm really glad you guys are doing that website. I think it's going to help, a lot of people and
absolutely
provide acceptance and, realize, hey, we should have neurodiverse people at work. We should have like educators who have disabilities and stuff, like, I feel like a common misconception or like a common thing is that like people view like at least for people on the spectrum, I feel like a lot of times people just want them for like STEM things, or that's something that I've noticed, but I'm just like, I don't do STEM. Like I want to do something else. I feel
Right.
like I'm called to do something else.
Right, exactly. Because when you think of a stereotypical, or I guess stereotypical neurodivergent person, you think of an autistic person who's super like good with numbers and math. But the truth is that we're all so many different. We're all so different, infinitely different, with infinitely different strengths, skills, weaknesses. Like that's the cool thing that's about working with neurodiverse people, is that you'll always have all your bases covered, because you've got so many diverse areas covered when you work with neurodiverse people. Like you got the arts, and you got writing and history and mathematics, accounting, business. It's all in that mix, and it amazes me how much talent everybody has, and how much interest everybody has in those subjects.
And I have to say, Mel, maybe it's not my turn to talk, Emma, but I was thinking about the website, and my unique role in it is I have zero education about building a website, and so it really gives me the opportunity. My whole job, like my role in building this website, is to know what the task is and keeping us on task. That's it, because Mel's pulling up code stuff and a bunch of symbols, basically, is what it looks like to me. And they're talking about it, and I'm going, I have no idea what this is. So they have to talk me through many things from our hosting site. I mean, the team, Mel, and then one of our alumni makes up the team, and they talk a whole other language to me. I don't know what they're talking about. I basically just hit buttons and they direct me. But it's a great role for me to be in, to be able to listen to them work as a team, and for me to learn something that is extremely out of my realm.
Yeah, I know nothing about coding either. And I want to be able to develop a website for this, like in a web show, like this idea of acceptance and disability acceptance. So if Mel, since you know how to do this kind of stuff, if you would like to help me create this website, and I probably will also need some funding for this website, so please donate to the GoFundMe page for this show. So yes, promoting that GoFundMe page right now, because I need funds for this to be able to grow into what I would like it to be, for what my vision eventually is.
Absolutely.
Got it.
We love money.
It takes funding, as I recognize, for a host site, for a content management. Those are the only two terms I know, Em.
It's like, wait, I have to pay a monthly payment to have a website? Because that's what I was like, I have to pay $20 a month? What?
Well, you have some great connections of people who know what they're doing in that.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I know I don't know, Em, if you want me to stay on, or if.
Oh, you can stay on. You can do whatever you feel. We're just having a conversation here, which I think is going pretty well so far. So Mel, I didn't properly introduce you earlier when you came on. You kind of just started talking about the website. So why don't you tell everybody who you are and a little bit about yourself?
That's right. Okay. Well, hi, my name is Melanie Schwartz. I'm a member of DCAP at Westchester University alongside Emma. We're classmates together. We're pretty good friends. I'm a junior at Westchester. I am a professional studies major. My minors are in web development and applications and music production. As I said earlier, I'm working on the Neurodiversity at Work group website, and I am also on the spectrum, and I also have ADHD, which I just found out. So that's cool. And I also speak with DCAP to potential students, to parents, to other on panels, to help give my experience, to help improve the experiences of others when it comes to stuff like on the spectrum and neurodiversity, and just making sure that everybody feels heard, and that we have a voice and that stuff.
Yeah, you do pretty amazing work with that. And I was wondering if, that role of wanting people to feel heard, is that going to be part of like what you want to do like as your career, like after graduation?
As after graduation, yeah, absolutely. I think if I were to definitely continue being an advocate after I graduated, I definitely want to be like be like a spokesperson for maybe some people who like maybe are too shy to be able to say something, or maybe other people that want to have their opinions heard but might not have enough support yet. I want to be able to help people, bottom line, and like if any experience of mine personally that I can use to give back to the community and help others potentially, and help their story grow is is something that I'd be interested in doing after I graduate.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think the sky's the limit for you too. I've been told by Cherie that the sky is the limit. Like for me, but I think the sky is the limit for you too, honestly, because you do a lot of amazing stuff, and especially with the website, I think it's going to be really, really impactful, and I think it's amazing that y'all are doing it. I like to say y'all, so if Cherie, if you want another thing to say other than you guys, say y'all, because y'all is fun to say.
It is.
It is fun. It is fun. I don't know that I need more words like that in my vocabulary though. And I'm a very quick to imitate others, so I probably will get off this call and be saying y'all. Thanks, Emma.
Yeah. So now you said you just found out you have ADHD. That's what you said?
Yes. Yeah. I just found. I say just found out, but do you want the full story, because it's kind of silly?
Sure. Because I feel like for me, like when I'm looking at both like autism and ADHD, sometimes I feel like some parts are similar. So sometimes I'm wondering like what sets them apart.
Sure.
And I know
Yeah,
that's such a
yeah.
silly thing to like wonder, but
No, not at all. Because I mean, like, especially when it comes to those two, they tend to overlap. Well, I kind of found this out yesterday because I had a very bad headache, a very bad tension headache, and my mom went to the store, and I think she got a pill that had both aspirin and a little bit of caffeine in it. And I took those two pills, and then instantly I swear everything improved. I was able to focus. My mood went up. I just felt like good. I felt present. I felt in the moment, and I was like, wait a second. That's why. That's why. Because the stimulant, the caffeine as a stimulant is what is the medication that is used to treat ADHD. So then once I got that like in my system, it takes effect like basically within minutes, and I feel like a completely different person. And I am like, wait a second, there's something going on here.
yeah. So what do you think are some common misconceptions like of ADHD, if you would know any?
I think that one of them, it's called attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It's not like, just like autism, it's not a linear spectrum. It's not more attentive versus less attentive, and it's not more hyperactive versus less hyperactive. It's more like a grab bag of symptoms. There's more symptoms and less, like, got greater levels of symptoms and smaller levels of symptoms, but like it's not all linear. Every person is different, and just like autism, it's specific to the individual. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's like saying that like it's not linear. I think that's like that's also part of the reason why like people on the spectrum, they want people to avoid saying like high functioning and low functioning, because the spectrum like affects everybody different. I feel like if we're all like categorizing someone into like high functioning or low functioning, we'll just assume that it affects them all the same.
Exactly.
It doesn't.
Yeah. And sometimes I feel like this is just my personal perspective, is that like I see a lot of times, especially when I'm on panels, that people will try and categorize neurodiverse individuals in general in like specific categories to be able to give names to things and be able to say, okay, so this is what this is. You want to do this because of it. It's like in some cases that's good to be able to know, like, hey, if you're the type of person that is a visual learner and needs to be able to have that visual information, that's good to know about yourself. Or like if you know that you need to get up and walk around because you cannot sit still for a while, that's good too. So then that in some cases that is good. That is good. However, like when it comes to just like categorizing people into like neat little boxy categories, it kind of just becomes more counterproductive than it should be. So like just really the most important thing when interacting with autistic people and neurodiverse individuals is to see that this is you're talking to an entire individual, like with their personality, strengths, weaknesses, desires, dreams, goals, and it's always like take the time to get to know them and take the time to appreciate that they're a whole entire person with a complex identity just like you.
Yeah.
It's and sorry to cut in. When you're saying that, Mel, it actually brings up some of the things, conversations that I know that we've had in the past of, just listening. And those of us who are neurotypical, we oftentimes will assume somebody's doing something for a reason. And I always kind of bring back that a panel that took place that I don't know if both of you guys were on or if either one of you guys were on, actually, it was called, the students that put it on, it was called Understanding My Quirks. Do you guys remember that at all?
Not sure.
So it might have, I think it was like in their first or second year. And some of the things that came up was I had a student talk about extra time on a test and the misconception of that the student took extra time on a test because they had a processing delay. And actually the student shared with us that they only took extra time on math because they like to solve it 2 or 3 different ways before they solved it the way the professor wanted it done. And I thought that was incredible, and I never heard of something like that. But I will tell you, just an inquiry night a couple months ago, I had a young lady share the same strategy with me, and I was like, I've heard this before. You're like, and that's that listening component, right? Of understanding that person. And when you talked about movement, I had a student that talked about, who actually asked the audience, why do you think when that I pace back and forth? And the number one answer, because you're anxious, was what he got. And what he shared was, no, you asked me an open-ended question. I think better when I move, and I like to move back and forth when I'm trying to answer those questions. And I'm just trying to speak and give examples, Mel, to what you're talking about. Know the individuals. And I think, as we're talking about this, and I know Emma likes to bring up the hard questions and the controversial questions of something that I get hit all the time with as a director, is that high functioning question, Emma, is how are the students at DCAP? Are they high functioning? And it makes me cringe based on the conversations that we've had. So, I haven't brought that up actually to the group. But thinking of like your thoughts on even that, like as a director, like how, or if somebody asked you that question.
And it's like the person first language and identity first language. Like I feel like my take on that, and I don't know if Mel, if you have a different take on it, but I feel like if you have to remind yourself that I am an actual human by using person first language, then that might be the issue in itself. Because, something I learned is like, we call each other Americans. We don't call each other people of the United States of America. I mean, some people might, but a lot of people just say like Americans because it's just part of who they are. Like autism is part of who we are, and it's not a bad thing. In fact, I feel like a lot of times it helps us to be more understanding of different issues and more accepting of others of who they are. At least for me, that's what I think on the issue.
I was gonna say the exact thing. Sorry, my dog started barking while you were talking, so I had to mute my microphone. Yeah, I also have the same sort of view of like, okay, I'm sorry, I always mix them up. Identity first language is I am autistic, right?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like saying you're autistic and stuff.
Right. Yeah. That's the language that I prefer personally. I don't know about other students in DCAP, although I do agree with you. Like for me personally, that's something that I usually use to refer to myself.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and honestly, the big thing is you have to listen to the people on the spectrum. It's their choice how they want to be identified. It's their choice. It's no one else's choice how they want to identify themselves because they know themselves more than anyone.
Absolutely.
Because, yeah. Well, it is getting a little low on time, so I'm going to stop the live stream. But I want to thank you guys for answering some of these questions. Let me see. I'm going to stop. And thank you, everybody who is watching or who will be watching for watching. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And